I want to introduce you our second speaker, Anastasia Shapovalova. Anastasia is a SALTA certified teacher. She holds a TQT certificates too. And now, say hello to our Anastasia.
So thank you for the warm welcome, Daria. Hello everybody, and thank you for joining in. My name is Anastasia Shapovalova, and let me click. Okay, and I'm a teacher and actually an English school owner from Samara. And my interests are teaching children and adults, and also CPD events. I'm a big fan of CPD events. And for the last 2 years, I've been managing the school. So I've developed interest in such areas as marketing, personal branding, and getting over bureaucratic hurdles, of course. Okay. And today, our topic is continuing professional development. And what I'm going to achieve today is something very simple. I want, first of all, to define continuing development, and most importantly, explain why it's not an option for us, the teachers, but a must-have. And second, I will show you 2 basic directions an English teacher should follow in order to stay motivated in the classroom and to continue development. And finally, I will show you my own CPD path and tell you how it helped me to achieve my goals. I think that most Russian teachers here today have taken an initial training or are still students. Yeah? And what I'm going to tell you next, what I'm going to tell you next is based on my own experience as an employer. I always ask the candidates, the teachers who want to work with me, such questions as what websites they use to prepare for classes, and what courses they've taken, and what books they've read. And sometimes I don't get an answer. And in such moments, I understand that a teacher is not eager to take even free opportunities to develop and keep up to date with new techniques and new methods of teaching. And I'll show you why I'm so surprised. I've prepared a short video. I didn't find it myself. I was watching a presentation by Olga Barnashova at Dmitry Nikitin School in Yaroslavl. And she was giving a presentation on planning your CPD. And I really liked this video. The speaker is Dylan William. And I decided to show it today in my presentation. Okay, let's watch it.
I think the only way we can improve teacher quality is to create a culture of continuous improvement. And that is given lip service in many districts, but nobody's really facing up to what it really means in practice. You see, I think that every teacher needs to get better. In many districts, they target help at the teachers who need support, who need help, who are having difficulties. Well, you know what? Every teacher has difficulties. Every teacher fails on a daily basis. If you're not failing on a daily basis, you're just not paying attention. Because we fail all the time. Many of you will walk out of this room absolutely convinced I said stuff I know I didn't say. As teachers, we fail all the time. We teach these brilliant lessons, we take in the notebooks, we look at what the kids have written, and we wonder what planet they were on when we were teaching this stuff. Our daily experience as teachers is a failure.
It has so many challenges that for me it's almost impossible not to develop continuously. And let me show you the definition. It goes. Okay. So the acronym CPD stands for Continuous or Continuing Professional Development, and means the process of continuing growth of a professional after joining their profession. Okay, and as I said at the beginning, there are two ways a teacher can develop. Here they are, so basic CPD directions. I call them basic because, of course, there are many other opportunities for a teacher to develop, but these are really urgent and essential for a teacher of English. So first comes language improvement, and then it's methodology, so improving your teaching skills. Okay, let's start with the language improvements. And how can a teacher improve his or her language skills? The most important thing, from my perspective, is taking a preparation course and passing one of the Cambridge exams. It can be FCE, you can start with that one, but CE and CPE, they are maybe more for teachers because they give you C1 level and C2. Okay, and you can also take part about exams as well. It's very important to have a certificate because once you decide to have a formal training like CELTA, sometimes it won't be possible without a certificate. Most of the exam centers will ask you to prove your language skills, at least to have B2, so FCE. Well, I think it's a must-have for any teacher of English. And next, you can take part in speaking club and talk to people who might be better than you, and visit websites such as, my favorite are Learn English by British Council and Learning English by BBC. I use them a lot in my classrooms. And next, very simple, watch films online, read books in the original, and also two probably well-known books. I think they are well-known. The first one is Grammar, Murphy's book, so Grammar in Use series. And one more is Grammar by Betty Azar. It's called Understanding English Grammar. And no, it's not good. Okay, one friend of mine who is an English teacher from Canada, he recommended it. So at least try looking at it. You might find some useful ideas there as well on grammar. Okay, and I forgot to mention that at the end of my presentation, I will give you a QR code where you can easily download everything. So you can scan it and you can download a document with all the links from my presentation. Okay, and the last one is chat to native speakers. Well, it's quite simple as well. Well, the next stage is, the next direction you can follow is methodology. And you know, there are a lot of teachers who know good English, but they don't give much thought to the methods of teaching. And here are some ideas to get you started. I divided this stage into three stages: input, practice, and production. Okay, let's look at input. What can we do here? Well, for example, read methodology books and articles. One book I really recommend reading is Jim Scrivener's Learning Teaching, which is the essential guide to learning, to teaching English. A brilliant book, really. I suggest reading it. Okay, then watch webinars and attend conferences. There is one famous conference. It's my dream come true. Actually, I really want to visit it and to attend it one day. Not as a speaker, of course, because it's held in the UK, and it's called ITEFL. It's the organization of English teachers, and they organize this event every year in the UK. So this year it's, if I'm not mistaken, in April. So maybe you will visit it and watch webinars. And of course, take exams like TKT, and not an exam, but a course, CELTA. TKT has 3 models and 2 specialist models for CLIL and young learners. They will help you to learn terminology and to acquire some basic knowledge. But then, of course, CELTA, which is recognized around the world, it will give you a chance to work in any country of the world. So CELTA is also good, but of course not very accessible. Okay, next comes practice, and here this is the stage where you take your knowledge and try to apply it. Networking with other teachers is one of the most stimulating activities to develop, and there are many ELT Facebook and Twitter groups that you can follow, and there are two very good VK blogs. One is Pro English by Ekaterina Stashevskaya, and another one, We Teach English by Irina Botner. So I follow those groups, and I find them very useful. Okay, and you can also join or set up a CPD group or community where you will discuss issues and you have. Then the first one here is observation. I think it's being observed and getting feedback from a trusted colleague can give you a fresh perspective on your teaching and help you identify areas you would like to develop. So, and finally comes your production stage, meaning what you have to give. And you can do it through self-observation and reflection. The ability to reflect upon your teaching is an essential skill for the teacher. And the final stage will be mentoring a colleague. And when you reach this stage, you will understand that you have made some progress. Okay, and does it work? Is it better? Okay. So, and here is how I managed my CPD. In my first years of teaching, my aim was always to start my own school. I really wanted it, and I want it right now. And it's number 6 here in my plan. But after graduation from university, I worked as a teacher at a private school. It helped me to get some experience in teaching because I didn't have any right after graduation. And I worked with groups of kids, and I prepared them for Young Learners exams, Cambridge Young Learners exams, and I really found it useful. Then there was some school by Crystal Bog-Thyssen in Samara. It was a 2-day workshop. She's a teacher from the USA, and I got really enthusiastic after those workshops. And I understood such areas as error correction, assessment, and so on. And I didn't have any idea what it was at that time. And the next step was to work as a tutor. So I gave face-to-face lessons, and this helped me to use the newest books, the newest materials, because it's not always possible when you work at a private school, at a private institution. So I could use some techniques I would like to try, and the books, as I've mentioned. And then I also took some online courses on teaching young learners, on teaching teenagers, and so on. And started networking on social media with my colleagues. And finally, I decided to rent an office and see what would happen next. Of course, it was quite difficult to do this alone. So people who would be good to network with and my peers were gathered together. And I found some very experienced teachers in Samara, and I started asking them questions like what a school should look like, and what courses should I offer in order to run my school successfully. And of course, it also takes some knowledge about business, but today I'm only focusing on CPD. So, but if you have any questions, you can ask at the end. And then, of course, to be qualified and to give some, I don't know, to give some maybe power to my school, I decided to take TKT courses, so I've got 3 models, and then of course CELTA. It was a great experience. I took it in Warsaw in summer 2017, and I really liked it, and now it helps me to work with adults successfully. And okay, at school now there are 2 teachers. One teacher is a Russian teacher, Russian-speaking teacher, and one is a Mexican boy. His name is Alexis. I can say them hello because probably they're watching us online, and we work together. So I can say that I'm mentoring them. We discuss lesson plans and some problems with students and so on. So I'm at this stage right now. Okay, as you see, CPD is a very useful thing, and never stop developing. That is my last idea. Okay. And here is a QR code. You can scan it and get the links from my presentation. Please invite the parents and the students. It's a free lesson, so to take part in it. And after that, well, not always, but often students stay. Or actually, I think a very good idea is that the doors to classrooms are always open. So I say to my parents that you can watch a lesson every time you want. So I think it's good.
And the second question.
Yeah.
How do you deal with complaints?
Okay, I'm still developing in that area, actually. I'm not an expert on that. But I can work with some of the complaints, like, okay, tell me one complaint, I'll try to work with that.
Okay, for example, we have just been discussing
Like,
the question. For example, I don't like this teacher, give me another.
Okay, then I think in this situation it's better to give another. But first, of course, I should look at the reasons. So why? But I think it's okay because every teacher is different, and you can't find a teacher to suit any student. So,
okay, for example, the age can be the reason for complaint. For example, here, the teacher is too young. We don't want a young teacher to teach our children. We want a professional experienced one.
Okay, then I can show the certificates the teacher has. Why not?
Doesn't help, unfortunately. My teacher is with a diploma with honors, but periodically parents accusing.
And how old is the teacher?
She's 21. She has just
20.
graduated.
Okay, I see. Then maybe yes, it might be a problem, but I'm not sure you can do anything in this respect because.
Okay, cool. Once more, a little bit. This certificate for you, for your SPD, it's a program Fix and Phonics of our partner Letterland. So you can see here your number and your article number. So do not hesitate to contact with us, and we give you access to this course. Okay? Thanks a lot. Okay.
Fosters your language. From my experience, is when you do the tasks which are really challenging. For example, go to an international conference with a status, because they're very strict about abstracts and how you put them into words. So you really have to think many times before you email this abstract. You have to prepare your presentation in English. And it takes time, but it also develops your language to the proficiency level. And also write articles for professional journals, English speaking journals. There are many journals, good journals for teachers, who accept articles or maybe small notes, short notes from teachers. And one of the most interesting ones, I think, is Teaching Professional. Have you heard?
Is it online or it's a paper?
They used to be on paper, but I think they've gone online now. Teaching Professional is UK based, and it used to be managed by Jeremy Harmer, who is no longer there. It's a very good, practical journal for teachers. It was distributed in Russia maybe 15 years ago, but they stopped. But it's online too. Teaching Professional. It's a UK based. You can try English teaching for it, where I published my first English language article on methodology, which was about storytelling. And all my friends said, how did you manage to do that? And I can tell you how. It was back into 1996. An American friend of mine in St. Petersburg, who was an EFL American Fellow in St. Petersburg at that time, John Dew, when he heard my presentation on storytelling, a different one, it was different, it was part of my dissertation, he said, quick, submit an article, we're doing an issue on storytelling. So, and he helped me to edit it a little bit. So, and it came out there. Just go for it. You will have to do the things which are difficult, but this will be very rewarding. And it will give you an international status if your article is published in a very respected
that's
magazine.
true. Thank you, Natalia.
Sorry,
for this motivation. No, thank you very much for this motivational speech. And yes.
The last question.
Okay.
It's not question, it's like additional for this.
Okay.
So yes, one more. As a teacher, for developing my speaking skills, I go as a volunteer and take part in international volunteer projects.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how old you are. I am 37. I have 2 children. The youngest one is 3 years old, and I went as a volunteer. Last year she was just 2 years old, and I was there for 2 weeks in Serbia. This year I was in Spain for 1 week. At the musical festival, and it was great. It's a development opportunity to develop.
That's true, because I did it myself. It was here in Kazan in 2013. You had there was university here, yes, and I was a volunteer. I was chosen one of the 2 people from Samara to be an attaché. And I worked with Chinese people, but they Chinese sportsmen, but they talked. They had good English, so it was a great experience.
Because there isn't another kind people from Russia, and in the group you just one, and you need to use this language.
Practice makes perfect.
Absolutely.
Here we go. And thank you very much for your question.
This is for you, because you have a very great experience. Do not hesitate to come to our organization and volunteers, and we write down your name and surname, so you win a certificate for CELTO program. It's free for you, okay? Anastasia, and this bag goes to, you can choose.
I think we have 2 pretty girls here. They asked a very good question, business question, but I like them a lot.